welcome to all of you. Warm welcome to all of you. Like I said, we were having an extremely informative, eye-opening sort of a discussion, and I hope that we will have it more after this session of poetry, and we can have some, I don't want to call it informal chat, but something like a discussion, a news room sort of a situation, a news analysis sort of a situation on Gaza, because I think it's really brutal what is happening. The place is being bombarded, starved, everything, and we want to find out how to end it. We as poets, we as citizens of this world who want peace, we just want the war to end, right? I mean, as long as there is war, everybody is unsafe. But that is not the only reason we want it to end. We just want peace for everybody. So this is a poetry session, and we'll get to a lot of information, even in the poems, I guess, and a lot of feelings and a lot of hope and a lot of support for peace and for this bombing to end, what is being called genocide. I mean, countries after countries are calling it genocide. It doesn't. Hope I don't need to speak so much. We are all aware of this. I was being informed of things here as to which particular group is being funded by whom. And guess what? It's not what you will usually think, at least not in India. So I am right now in Portugal, but I'm just coming from India. We read global news, but do we get enough of it? Anyways, so our first poet today was going to be Mick Meza, joining from Australia. I don't know if Mick is here. And I sent him lots of supports for Sanjay as well, because I am against his extradition to United States. And I think that if he really had, I mean, I have dealt with hackers and hacking, and we know that if he exposed something that was brutal, I don't think he deserves to die in prison. So, but I wonder if Mick is here. Are you here, Mick?
Mick has not joined yet.
Right. So who wants to go first? I think Bob wants to go first. Welcome to you, Bob. Bob just organized a beautiful Renga event celebrating not just the spring, because the Renga with haiku is always more than celebrating the spring and nature, but it is so much about the form of haiku and the writing of it and mastering the craft. So now on Gaza.
Indeed, I'm not sure. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, "Poetry makes us feel so we know what to think." And so with that in mind, I wrote this for today. How high can angels fly? Are they hovering at such a distance that Earth is just a pinhole, indistinguishable from those other billion specks of reflection, no different than shiny grains of salt randomly scattered on a dark table, errant outcasts spilled from a grinder? Are they gazing at a sphere, seeing the glowing blue of all the oceans, with swirls of white clouds, brushstrokes flowing across the green and brown of continents, erupting with the jagged teeth of mountains? Perhaps their vista is at the edge of the planet's surface, curving across a horizon continuing past the edge of vision. The atmosphere, a translucent blanket swaddling life. From that height, can you begin to see those lines drawn by human hands, marking the outlines of possession? This piece belongs to you. This piece belongs to me, rather than one piece that belongs to everyone. Can they experience a proximity allowing them to touch the earth, watching with short-sightedness only dust within the range of their being, leaving the silence of cold emptiness, hearing the sound of children crying because of hollows in their stomachs, becoming too weak to whimper, their radar eyes staring into nothingness, mirroring vacant minds no longer to wish for the gift of an immediate death. These children transforming into hungry ghosts, being devoured from the inside, dissolving all their energy until their lives are sustained by digesting themselves, their organs failing into swollen bellies from feasting too long on oblivion. No water left for their tears, blood too dry to flow, hearts too tired to beat. Only then are innocence released. How high can angels fly?
Thank you, dear Bob, for that very powerful poem. Thank you so much. Indeed, how high can angels fly? There has to be peace, one piece for everyone, and the children who are being devoured from inside, they need security. So thank you. And now I think I am going to go over to Lucilla. Lucilla, welcome, warm welcome to you. I think you're joining us from Switzerland, or are you joining from Italy?
No, from Switzerland today.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah, it's quite unusual from my style. It's almost like words and thoughts are not able to form sentences anymore, so it's just shards of words. Behind the sand dune, things we leave behind. A prosthetic arm with booklet of instructions, clothes, shoes, some school notebooks. Someone still keeps a report card tucked in their pocket as a guiding star. The rest is a pile of multiple parts, irrelevant items close to zero, things we leave behind. Strange iron sails, rumble of engines, shadows of fingers running on the face. We have no river, we have no seas, only we have sand, golden, on monochrome canvas. We can collect a thumb, a foot, before falling into a recess, or we may gaze back to the backdrop of the pyrotechnic scene, admire the force of fire. How much time do we have left? I'm thirsty, I'm gasping. I'll settle for some soda pouring from a fountain, just as on TV. Behind a sand dune, a soldier and a child stand still, suspended, still. There is a glimmer of hope. Thank you.
Thank you to you again for that very powerful poem. There is a glimmer of hope. And thank you for taking us for a walk in among these sand dunes, right? And with so many bombs falling around. So thank you. I have several messages from our dear poets, from Poets Without Borders, who it seems cannot get to the link. So Dawn, I'm going to have to ask you can you please to just send the links to Antje. It seems she forgot to register. And Alicja in Poland, Kuberska in Poland. I'm sorry about this, but it's just that, sometimes there are technical things. So
I just took care of Antje Um,
And
the
Alicja Kuberska.
yeah,
If you can just tell her to click on the blue icon that says join meeting from a laptop or Android, I think.
I don't think she's registered. She's not registered yet.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if you do you have the registration link handy you could send to her?
I
Or
do. I'll have to dig into my email, and I
or
just
if
yeah.
you can give me if you can give me her email, I can send it to her. Maybe you could put it in the chat.
I'm just asking her to email you to message you her email ID.
Great, great. That would be
Thank
fine.
you. Thank you.
I just sent Alicia the link on her Facebook Messenger page,
What
with
link?
which the one which I connected to, where I couldn't connect.
That won't work.
Oh.
That won't work. She needs to register.
Okay,
Only one.
moment. I just ask her to send you her email. In the meantime, Xanthi, why don't you welcome again and thank you for joining, and so nice to see you from beautiful Greece. Is it warming up? I mean, I came to see the spring, in
Yes.
February to Portugal, and it's still kind of really sort of chilly sometimes, and some days. Today it's nice out a little bit, but it's like I'm still going out with my mittens and having to take them off after 5 minutes and then wearing them again. Sorry.
Yes. It started today to be a little warmer. Up to yesterday, I think I had to go out in my fur coat, and I was like 3 weeks really sick because I caught a really bad cold. So I can read one of my poems, which has been published on our poetry archives for March, and it is to the theme of Palestine and war. So I will read It Seems. It seems. Albert Einstein wrote in 1950, peace cannot be achieved through violence. It can only be attained through understanding. It seems that peace has slipped away in wars of brains, in wars with politics and margins, and the world is turning and the world is spinning out of control. Peace requires putting the weapons down. Making peace requires absolutely no weapons. Making peace with collective consciousness, with unified consciousness, not one's ego. Poets are the peace keepers. Poets are the peacemakers, or are they just delusional Don Quixote, ready to redeem the deal, the millions of faces lost, ready to recall the wrongs of the living? Social cybernetics on the altar of sacrifices. Extend your soul to the 4 levels. Unfold the 4-folded, unified reality. Explain peace, please. Experience the spheric, the spherons, the holistic worth of Gandhian philosophy when peace has slipped a little further away. Thank you.
Thank you to you so much, and thanks for remembering Gandhi and non-violence. Indeed, peace means putting down the weapons, and somebody needs to force the aggressors, right, to put them down for a minute. And that somebody, I don't think, is in a position to even guarantee that as soon as the bombing ends, there will be not another terror attack in another place. It's really bad. But we need to not take that risk, but to really get to that negotiating table where it can be talked about. I'm sure that it can be done. Thank you for that very powerful line. Poets are the peacemakers. I think that all leaders have to also do that, right? So again, we are going to go back to United States, and I'm going to ask my dear friend, Dustin Pickering, to please read a poem.
Thank you, Pankhuri. I have one I wrote actually yesterday, and thinking about this conflict, and it's simply called "The Cruel." Feels like the end of something new. We have only begun. Our flesh serene and glistening in shining sun where we sin. Life is lived in mysterious fire, devouring entire. Listen to my prayers, sigh of being. Hear me advance my calm and the luxury of grief. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you immensely, dear Dustin, for that short but very relevant and very important poem of yours. And I think that I am going to go over. We have very few poets. Is there somebody I just met who would like to read? Sash, would you like to read?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here, and it's good to be in a gathering of poets and to collectively just voice our dismay at what's happening. This poem, I come from Sri Lanka, and what I write about is the Sri Lankan Civil War. So this is about that. I don't believe in appropriating other people's trauma, but it's about children, and it's so relevant to what's happening now in Gaza. In Memory 1, after you died, people said your birth horoscope had foretold your death at 13. That morning, you had a bullet in your shoulder. We were more concerned with your mother, shot in the chest. And you slipped away. Now when I think of you on the ground, flies homing to the corners of your eyes, you were too quiet, too still. And the blood you left behind when we lifted you onto the tractor had pooled so deep, it took us 3 days to wash it away. 3 days after you had turned 13, you were gone. Thank you.
Oh my God, that's the real face and horror of war. And I really, I'm sorry to say, but I hugely connected with the poem, and I think it's very important. I think it starts with this thing called horoscope, right? Which is a big problem in this region. You know, people just believe in their fates. People just believe in their birth so much. The time of their birth, the minute of their birth, and then their horoscopes are made. I'm sorry, I'm just going to take half a minute to talk about this, because my first story collection is also about this. You know, my first story collection has a title story. The title story of my first story collection is about this. Sorry, I am a little overwhelmed, and I've turned off my Wi-Fi because I think I sent the message to Alicja about registering and joining. And suddenly my phone is just buzzing. So the horoscope making in India is just so terrible. People need to get out of that fatalist mind frame. What I have seen, I'm going to take the liberty of saying this, that what I've seen elsewhere in the world is that people don't really make their horoscopes, but it's really big. I mean, of course, royalty is royalty, but even otherwise, right? I mean, immigration-wise and so many other ways, I am really rebelling today. So, okay, now who is going to read next? Antje, most welcome to you. It's so good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I did no introduction for anybody. Antje is an amazing poetess from Germany, and she writes in German and Italian, and beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I will read. I'm happy to see you all, because we are all nearly all friends already. I will read you a poem I've already read, but I made it a little bit longer because every day there are things to add, so it's horrible. No, we cannot forget the newborn babies in a row, wrapped in aluminium foil, while the emergency engine slowly runs out. No, we cannot forget the doctors and nurses digging a mass grave in the courtyard while snipers shoot at them outside the hospital. No, we cannot forget the child with his mouth open in a silent cry when they cut off his limb without anesthesia. Will he ever again dream of fingers caressing his back in his sleep? Someone whispering, "Everything is good. Everything is good." Tomorrow. When is tomorrow? Wie konnte das passieren? How could all this happen? We who have allowed the return of evil, the return of those who will not regret in killing while following orders. We who have allowed the frozen words of our leaders and shreds of half-truths to celebrate the murderers of an entire population in the strip of land where there is no escape. How will we erase our sins as history follows us relentlessly like an angry dog with puzzled and unsettling eyes that keeps asking, how could this have happened? Wie konnte das passieren? Thank you. This question, wie konnte das passieren? How could this happen? My generation asked our parents that were involved in the Nazi fascism because we could not imagine how they could have accepted all this because everybody knew a little bit. And now we are in the same situation. We accept that our governors support this massacre, and it's so incredible. I mean, it's if history repeats itself. So this is the sense of this poem. Thank you.
Thank you for that very piercing question and that very touching poetry, powerful one. And do you also want to read Sabrina's poem? Last time I read Sabrina's poem. Do you want to read it this time?
I don't have it now.
Oh,
She sent another one?
No,
the one
it's the same one. So I try to look for it and I'll send you, and maybe later you can read.
Yeah.
So continue to be with us, and thank you again. And Margo, hi. Would you like to read a poem?
There. Thank you so much for inviting me and to be with all of you. These are difficult times for all of us. I'll begin to read with just a sentence that I read in the Washington Post yesterday. And once I read this sentence, I thought I couldn't read anything else, but I will. The sentence read, "I went to bring them food and returned laden with death and blood." You know, we say the genocide is in only one terrible place, but in our souls, it is crawling all across our entire world. And we read, "I went to bring them food and returned laden with death and blood." In Paris, it is what is called the blue hour. In Gaza, bodies no longer count time. Here is my body, invisible on our lake, our dreamscape. The old blue heron lands, beak of my hunger, beak of her hunger, beak of her mothering. Mother me, I say. I'm her body of surrender, waiting. I'm her body of hunger, waiting. Her body of danger, waiting under the 5 million star-fall night. Mother, I cry, you promised kinder dreams. You promised sleep. Be kind, you said, before you surrendered, before you climbed the starfall. This night won't last, you said. I'm the heron, I'm the lake at peace. Our vine leads to you, you said. Your body of surrender waiting. I whisper the blue heron will feed us. Blue dawn will delete us. Peace, our bodies will sleep. Our danger will sleep. I will love you, you said. That was our promise before. Our lake waits. Don't cry, I said. Here is my body, I said. Sleep. The hungry beaks will feed. Even the sparrows, winged ones. Our old promise is kept this night. This dangerous, last, mothering us night. When the bough breaks and the winds of war shame hurl every life down like the song's broken cradle, what holy land will hold one candle for that infant named peace? The new in boxes cradled now under another bootkill. Lullaby quiets for the too soon closed. One tune for when the stench is cleaned. One rockabye ballad some other bough will break for. Awake to the fallen hearts. In Paris, it is what is called the blue hour. In Gaza, bodies no longer count time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that headline from the Washington Post, as well as a very beautiful. Again, we are in such precarious times that the word beautiful has become problematic, but it was a very powerful poem. Thank you. Very touching, very sensitive, very understanding of the situation and of the dilemma. And I think that you covered just a lot of ground in the sense that when you read that headline, I think you were referring to the announcement from the US president that the food was going to be dropped, and probably now they are thinking of boots down and stuff like that. And at what risk, at what cost, and even the airspace, if it is safe, and so on and so forth. But we are talking about one place right now, but this is what happened when I think Biden was talking about dropping food. He instead of Gaza, he said Ukraine, right? This was talked about, and do you blame him for that? No, but
do I blame him?
I
Is
mean,
that what you asked?
no, I mean, can anybody blame him for that? I mean, to deal with so many conflicts, right?
Yeah.
That was the simple point that I was trying to make, and that the situation is so bad. So thank you again for that wonderful poem, and I hope that we can do more than dropping food, and that we can really get there to that infant peace that you so beautifully evoked in your poetry. Thank you. And now, how about we go over to Bulgaria? Ekaterina has sent me a very beautiful translation by dear Sir Tom Phillips of her poetry titled Women's Issues. But why don't you read the Bulgarian version, and then I'll read the English version. Ekaterina is a wonderful poetess and a teacher of Greek, and a teacher not really of French, but her French is too good, and that is how she comprehends English. But she will also beautifully read in English if she wants to, but she doesn't want to today. So I'll read in English, but you unmute yourself, please, and please read in Bulgarian.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Pankhuri. I am losing my voice, I'm afraid, but I will read this poem in Bulgarian first, and then please you read the poem in English. Въпроси на жени. Ако сме на ръба на нашето унищожение, късно ли е да говорим? Ако времето е малко, смешно ли е още да се влюбваме, т.е. да не мразим? Докато какво? Нахално ли е да искаме ръцете ни да прегръщат, устните ни да бъдат целувани? Грозно ли е да искаме да умрем спокойни, обръщайки музикалната плоча от една тукашна на една отвъдна градина? И да завещаем безусловната си обич на нашите деца, които сега държат оръжие с крайна мъка или без, които се родиха с крайна мъка, които родихме с нечовешка целенасоченост, с кървави бедра, премазани от гравитацията, стреляни през 2-3 минути от оръдията на контракции. That was. Thank you.
Women's issues. If we are on the verge of destruction, is it too late to talk? And if time is short, is it funny to still fall in love? That's to say, not hate until what? Is it impudent to want our arms to embrace, our lips to be kissed? Is it unseemly to want to die in peace? Flipping over the album from this one here to a garden beyond, and to pledge our unconditional love to our children who now bear arms in utter torment or not, who were born in utter torment, who were born with inhuman purpose, with bloodied thighs racked by gravity, shot every 2 or 3 minutes from the cannonade of contractions. Sorry. Thank you for that very, very powerful, very beautiful, very touching, very moving poem.
Thank you, Pankhuri.
Thank you, Ekaterina. Thank you immensely for joining. I think you have a sore throat, and I can't thank you enough. It's so good to see you. Thank you. Big hugs from Portugal. And yeah, we need to meet up sometime soon.
I hope so.
Yes, thank you. Larry, would you like to read?
Sure. CSI is a television program, and I'm not sure how widespread it would be known outside of the US, but it stands for Crime Scene Investigator. So this is the poem. CSI, Gaza, Season 75. No forensic scientists will search the dusty rubble pile and broken concrete walls for fibers and loose hair while swabbing for DNA with moistened Q-tip swabs, knowing that the invaders have left little chance of recovering evidence of the crime. There are no large crime scene floodlights separating light from dark, searching for truth, reason, or guilt, or even positive identification of the many small victims. Canadian poet Margaret Atwood noted that war is what happens when language fails, even though poets constantly call in anonymous tips. Folk singer John Prine said that some humans ain't human. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We are looking for that crime scene. Wow. That was an amazing poem. Absolutely fantastic. You know, in a world which has become so civilized and so developed and everything, how can we fight with tooth and nail, right? So that's the question. Thank you so very much. We might have found the crime scene. We just don't know how to label it, right? That is what we are trying to do. So now I think I'm going to ask Antje to read. I haven't been able to approach Sabrina to ask for her permission, but I'm sure she won't mind if you read that. And after Antje, Dawn, I'm going to request you to please read your poem for Palestine.
Pankhuri, Alicia has sent me her poem, so whenever you want me to read Alicia's poem, you can tell me. So that yes, so she can be heard, although she's not here.
Great, great. So, so I think first, Antje, I just sent you the poem in your messenger with me, and you can just go ahead and read that, and then John, and then Xanthi, and then I think it's just me, the last poet of this meeting, unless somebody else joins in. There should be, I'm sorry, there was a last minute approach from here. I'll try and ask if they have a poem for Gaza. So please go ahead, Antje. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. But
Yes.
now I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Second, please. I bambini di Gaza, una rete arrugginita frantuma l'azzurro in piccoli pezzi romboiadali. Una bambola dondola le gambe da ore sulle macerie, bambini come papaveri di campo in un bicchiere. Children in Gaza, a rusty net shatters the blue into small rhomboidal pieces. A doll swings her legs on the rubble for hours. Children like peeled poppies in a glass. Sabrina di Canio. Okay,
Thank you.
let me come back.
Thank you so much, Antje, for that very touching short poem from Sabrina. Yeah, exactly. This is what that very famous bombing of the hospital was, right? And no matter how much we say, we always are looking for words to say more. I mean, if I try to imagine, the pain of these people. So now I think it's Dawn.
Thank you, Pankhuri, and thank you, everyone. I have a group of poems that I wrote, and I've put them into a PDF, and I just put a link in the chat. If you just click on that, it'll come. The PDF will show up in a window, and you can look at it if you wish. It's such a privilege to be part of this, and I'm so grateful to have a chance to do something, however small. I do apologize for the problems people are having getting in. Alicia couldn't get in, and a bunch of people did get in, so I just don't understand it. Lament for those held hostage tonight. On October 7th, 2023, terrorist gangs breached the Israeli-Gaza border, killed 1,200 and kidnapped 250. The ferocious response of Israel's military has killed 10,000 innocents and counting, and turned the lives of Gaza's millions upside down. Tonight, Israel lives, sworn to defiance and blood, in fear for her children, shackled by fanatics or dead. Gaza waits breathless the hell strike to come. Her creatures hide in her ruins, surrounded by innocents. How many would kill me if they knew me? How many would I murder if I could? Which of us is clean? I judge myself without mercy. Yet the brutal cycle we cherish in God's image is beggared by his cruel glory. I am a Jew without hope or faith, yet I can still pray and do. One more time this night, may your death angel pass me by, leave me whole, your chosen, terrorized and waiting for tomorrow's horrors. If you truly exist and hear, then hear this. You are a beast and unfit. So too your zealots, whatever their name for themselves or you. If I held your might, Almighty God, in that instant I would erase you and your memory from all that is. If you truly exist and care, open the earth and destroy me. For though I claim nothing over Moses, your darling, I claim goodness over you. Surely we would be better off without you. But who, if not you, can stop the madness? Who even wants to? Surely not Israel, whose privilege stands on her armed might and her God-given destiny. Surely not the dispossessed Palestine, whose only strength is destruction. Surely not their Arab kin, whose only gifts are weapons forged for an ancient feud. And surely not America, we whose nuclear bullets hold the world hostage, like those Israeli hostages shackled in Gaza tonight, like those Gaza innocents beggared by Israel's might. That's lament for those held hostage tonight.
Thank you so much, Dern. Yes, thank you for talking about the hostages, reminding us of the hostages. I mean, they were celebrating in a music festival. You all saw it live, the parachutes coming down, the horror of it. And I think that some of them are, please correct me if this is wrong, if I am wrong, that some of them, they are still talking about the hostages, that they might still be alive somewhere. Anybody wants to, or yeah. So despite so much bombing, where did they go, right? So we come back to the same circle of terror, and do we want to say that, maybe if we get to that negotiating table and we talk about not occupying so much territory, and maybe we can really talk about peace. So why aren't the leaders doing it? Like, it's a question that I'm really desperate about. So I think that we have to go to Xanthi to hear a poem from Alicja, who's joining us, through her poetry from Poland. Again, a very important place. Poland has been an ally for Ukraine since the war started. And what the Gaza war did was to sort of, push it in the background, the horror of what the Ukrainians are facing, the whole country. And I was just catching up with some news, and they said that last year, probably there was more hope, and Zelensky was more hopeful, but this year they are, it seems, losing territory again. So we can, we can do more such events. We can talk about such things, and we can do what we can. I hope that this is a way of pressurizing and asking and questioning the whole world order. For some answers and for security for everybody, right? So Xanthi, thank you. If I'm talking too much, it's because, I just want to sort of raise these questions in whatever way that is possible. Xanthi.
Alicja Kuberska, Gaza. In Bethlehem, the silence becomes louder and louder. It echoes between the sky and the earth. The street lamps have closed their eyes. The ruined houses silent. The wind blows through the deserted streets. A crying woman can be heard in the distance. She was about to leave. She was left alone among the rubble and picks through it with bloody fingers. Hope makes her believe that she will hear the word Mum. In the city, people, dust stretches to the horizon. Sorry, in the city, purple dust stretches to the horizon. The morning sun lost its warmth and glow. The mother found her massacred child, and at that moment, her world died. Alicja Kuberska.
Thank you. Thank you for reading a beautiful poem, a very touching poem. We are overwhelmed with this emotion. And I think I am the last poet, and I am going to read a poem of mine, which is called Between Gaza and West Bank. Sovereign country, borders secure, should what Palestine be, and why is it not? A land so pious, yet bombs pounding. Two sides, Israel and Palestine. Why, may we ask, why? Let's stop the war, sit face to face. No stampede, no rockets, let's talk it out. A smoother flow of thoughts and people through Gaza Strip and West Bank. Love and trust can settle it all. The settler colonies, displaced people, Israel, my friends, is a new entry. Our nation attacked on the day of formation by neighbors who occupied Palestine from 48 to 67. Encroachment can end, but let's look back. Ottoman Empire, Turkish territory, Brit colony, the mandate of Palestine turned into a myth when the Arabs fought Israel. Can all be worked out? Treaties are for this. Peace a rallying call, the world will get together, cameras flash again, and the pen will show its might and power. Let's sign that deal. Humanity will triumph. Palestine hurls its flag. Palestinians hurl their flag, use their own currency. Cultivate lands with olives and grapes. Ramallah, new seat of government. Let friendship prevail. Let's extend our hands, open our hearts, share and reach out. Let's sing together the national song of Palestine. Thank you so much, my dear poets, for bearing with my vision as well. Naive. But why is it so, sort of naive is what we are talking about. So great. So thank you for joining. It was a great event. I'm overwhelmed with the support you have shown for peace and for this event of ours. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everybody, for taking your precious time out. And now the floor is open for this informal chat if anybody wants to go ahead. But I think before that, we should end the live, right? So Dawn, thank you again. And friends, I hope that you are going to join this call. So let us know, please, with your comments.
If I may, regarding the live feed, if people, it's a real powerful example that people who disagree can talk about this. I mean, that's what happened at the beginning.
Okay.
Before we started.
Okay.
There was clearly disagreements, and anyway, I just it's up to you, Pankhuri.
No, it's really, I think, a very nice idea that we continue the live stream and we really, ask people to join us in our informal talk as well, and because it's very important, right? We had disagreements, and disagreements are important. Questions are important. Questions are very important. I am going to sort of throw the floor open and just say that what we were talking about is that Hamas was really funded at one point in time by Netanyahu. And I said it was like news to me, totally news to me. So who wants to take over?
I also heard that that was a story very early on that intelligence had picked up the fact that there was going to be some sort of invasion. And see, the issue here is that each side needs the other. You can't have a hero without danger. You can't have a right without wrong. You can't have religious fervor without a demon. And so it's no surprise to me. It is the function of politics and the function of always, forever, and will likely continue for a percentage of people to be egotistical and selfish. Our meeting today is support for each other. From my perspective, it's support for each other because we're preaching to the choir here. The deficit that the planet is experiencing actually isn't food, it isn't water, it isn't air, it isn't housing, it isn't anything you can name. It's only one thing, and you can feel it. There is a deficit of empathy. If we somehow or other could truly put ourselves in the space of another, there'd be no problem. And I don't know. I feel like all the energy we have should be put into this. And an American poet named Wallace Stevens talked about necessary angels. So we have to be some sort of necessary angel, but also to not delude ourselves in terms of what needs to be done. And I'll just close with this because I don't want to be pushing the river here. You know what to do to change this? Invite somebody to dinner. Sit at a table. Have it be someone that you know has a different attitude of yours. And maybe the rule should be first, don't even talk about that. How are your kids? What are your dreams? What's your job like? Do you have a particular need? How's your health? And then when we understand we're the same, then maybe you can approach this stuff. But I don't think it can work otherwise. But thanks for listening.
I think gatherings like this of poets is extremely important. About a month ago, one of the small presses here in the US put out a call for poems related to what's going on in the Middle East. And I sent her 4 or 5 poems. And about a week ago, I heard that they were going to cancel. They were going to do a chapbook. They're going to cancel the project. And reading between the lines, I believe that there was some kind of pressure to cancel the project. I know that, if you're a publisher, you can, especially a small press, you can only take, if you want to keep publishing, you can only take so much pressure. And I distinctly got the feeling that that was what was happened here, to cancel the whole project because so many people, especially here in the US, have what I call willful ignorance. They don't want to hear the message because it might require them to change, and people don't want to change. So I think gatherings of poets is extremely important. So thanks for doing this.
I agree that it's very important that we come together, we talk. There is no good, no bad in this war. I mean, there has to be found a solution. But what is shocking the most is how our countries get so focalized. And like you said, they cancel events. In Germany, it's horrible. If you make a declaration in solidarity with Gaza, you're an anti-Semitic, no? So this is a use of language which is completely wrong, because there's a big communities of Jews, intellectual Jews in Germany, like Deborah Feldman. They are cancelled. They can't have any public outspeaking, although she was a very, very famous person in Germany. She still is. But nobody gives her a voice. And this is the pervert thing, because the people that are critical with the Israeli government, and if they are Jewish themselves, they should be the first that could speak out about it. Now, so what is really shocking that all our democracies are getting on a very, very low level. And so this conflict is influencing the whole climate in Europe, and I think America especially, which nobody would have expected.
It's happening in the UK as well, with the just the rhetoric, the divisive rhetoric that's used by politicians. So our past Home Secretary, our ex-Home Secretary, who's calling the people marching for a ceasefire hate marchers, and is allowed to get away with it. And so if people are leading with such sort of inflammatory and divisive rhetoric from on top, you know, what is the average person who doesn't read extensively, who doesn't think extensively, what are they going to do? And it's up to thinkers, and like you say, they shouldn't be cancelled. And I know it happened in Frankfurt Book Fair as well, when they cancelled that Palestinian, I can't remember her name, sorry. But it's happening here as well. It's just it's unbelievable.
I think, you know, when you face a very difficult problem, it's important not to give up. You know, this is too big, and, you know, none of us has the power to do something on our own that's going to just solve it. And so a lot of people just turn away. I think it's important to be informed, you know, to ask questions and try to find the answers, and to keep looking and keep looking to understand what is at the root of the problem and how can it be addressed. We may not find an answer for it, but at least we'll be able to sleep at night if we do the right thing, instead of just turning away. This issue of, for instance, of the Netanyahu government providing support for Hamas and legitimizing Hamas, that's in the news. You can just Google that and find it. I put a link in the chat to a recent article in the Times of Israel about it, but there's a lot more out there. The thing that I started to talk about earlier, but before everyone was here, I think Margo and I were mainly talking about it, was a lot of the craziness in Israel comes from the very observant Jewish community. And my friends, people that I've known for 50 years from my fraternity days who are Jews, didn't know that. They didn't think that the highly observant community in Israel has anything to do with the government, even though 40% of the support that Netanyahu has in the Knesset, 40% of the votes that made him prime minister are from ultra-Orthodox. And the huge percentage of the problems in the West Bank are due to colonization by Orthodox people, many of whom come from the United States, many Christians as well.
And who come from Russia. And that's part of the problem that we don't address and that we haven't even begun to accept.
I think that observation is spot on. And we as poets should be aware of words. And so you're labeling them as highly observant is an interesting turn of the phrase, because if you're aware, you want to have an open mind, you want to be highly observant. What we're talking about here is fundamentalism, and it doesn't make any difference. Look at the problems we're having with fundamentalist Islamists. Look at the problems we're having with fundamentalist Christians. Look at the problem we're having with fundamentalist Jews. And the entire situation, once you bring God into it like that, you can demonize whoever you want, and you are right, and you are empowered by the highest energy of the cosmos to do whatever you need to do to get rid of the demon. The rhetoric wouldn't work if people didn't have the receptor in their heart. I hear the same rhetoric that you guys do. Do I then buy it? No. There's no space in my heart. It's automatically crazy to me.
Yes, and then what differentiates the rhetoric of the Islamic terrorists from, the fundamentalists in Israel? That's another question. So I think that we have a poet who has just joined us, Indran. Warm welcome to you. Hi. Would you like to read a poem for Palestine? And, then we can continue our discussion. And I think, thank you, Bob, for those very important points. But just a minute before Indran reads the poem, I really want to comment on the dinner idea. How about a dinner for the leaders, And how about, just publicizing this? There are lots of people who are going to bed hungry. And there are lots of people who are, not having the dinner thing, the formal dinner thing. And how about like putting this force in the face of the leaders with a dinner party, right? Sorry, I'm low on empathy, according to your standards. Did Bob just leave? Oh, God. Okay.
No, he's there. He just turned off his camera.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Yeah, but we really need to do something like this unless we really sort of raise our voices and pitches and really ask the leaders to dine together in front of the camera with their etiquette, menu, and do a live for the whole world to see what they're dining tonight and what is it that they dine every day with, right? So how can they sleep, right, Bob? Coming back to your question, how can they sleep? And how can they live their days and smile such beautiful smiles, right? Sorry. Indran.
Thank you for the invitation, Pankhuri and Don. And I published this poem yesterday on Ground Views. That's groundviews.org, which is a news website based in Colombo, Sri Lanka, where anyway, this one's called Surviving in Wilderness. The wheat flour massacre sprayed blood on flour sacks on February 29, a leap day for a leap year 2024. But 112 dead Palestinians are no longer leaping for flour. They're lying on the street, shot by tank operators, snipers, infantry. The UN Secretary General deplores the killing, calls again for a ceasefire and release of the Israeli hostages. 3 Security Council resolutions calling for a ceasefire have been vetoed thus far by the United States. Not everybody is leaping to conclusions. Some are saying that the US is the only power working behind the scenes. Carnage, able to stop carnage we see in still shots because the massacre took place before dawn, and most journalists have already been slaughtered, and foreign ones did not accompany the tanks, snipers, and infantry who barreled bullets into the hungry crowd seeking flour for their families, kids eating animal feed, pregnant mothers emaciated who give birth to babies unable to survive in the wild. That's the poem. Yeah. I've written other poems on this, which you can read there and elsewhere. Thank you for this. Very sorry that we are gathered on this occasion. But this is the motive for this gathering.
Thank you for
Excuse me,
joining.
Pankhuri, I must leave at this point. Thank you for including me. Hello to you, Indran.
Hi,
It's been
Margo.
a long time. And
Thank you. Thank you for joining, Margo. It was very nice to meet you, and I hope that we can keep in touch and we can do future events together. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
Take care.
Thank you. I think we all sort of want to, get going because, it's like getting cold in Portugal as well. So, but thank you, Indran, for that